Howdy. Hey, Andre, since I missed you today, wasn't able to check in with you. I wanted to record this lesson in the time where we would normally having our lesson time. I'm just going to do a quick maybe 15 minutes on talking about some more concepts over the blues. We're going to keep using the F blues that we've been looking at, Tootsie blues. I took some time to kind of update my recording setup. I've been learning some about OBS, open broadcasting something recording software. You probably have heard about it. Anyway, let's dive right into it. So the F blues, we've been learning some basic chord voicings over this F blues. So whoops. F, the 7, the 3rd, and the 5th. So that's our basic 3-note voicing. And then we also have this voicing, the 3rd, the 7th, and the 9th. Right? So we can think of these as two basic shapes. This will be a little bit of review here before I go into the new stuff. So for the blues, we have really 3 chords we're responsible for, and then there's some passing chords to get to those chords. But the 3 main ones are the main chords in classical music too. 1, 4, 1, 4, right? 1, 5, 4, 1. So there's the base of the blues, right? The other thing I wanted to point out is the blues, how it mixes happy, right? This major sound, major 3rd, and you normally thought of as happy, right? And then the minor sound thought of as sad, but the blues kind of mixes them up, and so it's everything all together. Right? So those are 2 things that I'd like to point out about the blues when we get to play with that major 3rd and minor 3rd in kind of a cool way. So let's review our chord voicings at these 2 places. I'm going to play a left hand bass note and voicings here in the right hand, 3-note voicings. So this is our bass. We want to start and be able to navigate our way through the changes with these tools. Okay, so we have 1, 2, 3, 4. Right, this is our B flat chord with the 3rd, the 7th, and the 9th. We go to that kind of a quick 4 chord. Right, and we bar 5. We have the 4 chord. This is the same. This is the same version of that we were just using, the 7, 3, and 5, but now it's B flat. Then we go back to the 1 chord. And now there's often a turnaround to the 5 here, but there doesn't have to be. We can just go right to the 5. And now we're going to use the 3, 7, 9 shape, right? Because it goes really well voice led from the 1 up to the 5. So C7. This is our 5 chord, 3, 7, 9, and then back to 1 for the last 2 bars, which are the turnaround. For now, we're going to skip the turnaround, and I'd like you to focus on just getting the form. So that's what you'd like to be able to do. I'm going to bring up a metronome, and I'm going to do it a little faster. You might do it a little slower to begin with, and then bump up the speed. So let me start it at 110. So here we go. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. We got our 2 bars of 1 now. Bar 5. B flat 7 with the 9. Alright. We're going to stay on 1 here. We're just going to go right to the 5. The last 4 bars. 2 bars of 5. 2 bars of 1. Okay. There's our basic blues. And we're going to start adding in little things here and there. But first, you want to be able to do that, right? The next thing you want to be able to do is to play the melody. And you know what? We're gonna simplify it. I was gonna say to play the melody with 3-note voicings that we were just using, and that works. Right? But there's a simpler way of playing, and this is a way of playing that came in the bebop era with piano players like Bud Powell, where he just, instead of putting down 3-note voicings, he would put down what's called shells in the left hand. Shell is kind of what it sounds like. It's just the outer notes of a chord without a lot of the inside information. So F7 would just be the root and the 7th. Instead of having the 3rd and the 5th in there, which that's a really muddy sound, the shell is nice and clean and lets you play the 3rd up here. So you still end up with the complete chord, minus the 5th, but we don't need the 5th. So there's our F7 shell. So we're going to use shells throughout this whole song. And let me go over what the shells we're going to use are. So a shell can either be the root and the 7th, or it can be the root and the 3rd. And those are the ones we're going to stick with for now. Right? So let's go through and see what the root and 7th shells look like for every chord in this song. Well, I won't use the metronome for now. So on our 1 chord, there's our root and 7. We're going to do the same thing with our 4 chord. Okay, let's go through all the root and 7s. Back to the 4 chord now for bar 5, bar 6. Bar 7 goes back to 1. And we're going to just go right to the 5 chord. And that's it. So now we're going to try to play the melody using just those simplified shells. So when it gets up to speed, it'll sound like this. 2, 2, 1, 2, 3. Okay, well I didn't do it perfectly, but yeah. So that's a new way of playing there. Just the shells. So you may wish to practice just those shells and the melody until you really can get really good at it and kind of do it without thinking about it. Yep. There's the next step in the blues, really. I'll draw your attention to the turnaround. There's 3 turnarounds. Okay, the blues has 3 sections, right? There's A section, 4 bars, middle 4, and the final 4. Before you get to each part of those, the bar or 2 before that has a little turnaround, and that's what has evolved and as jazz players have taken to the blues, and the blues is kind of a foundational part of jazz. So let's talk about the main turnaround, which is the one at the end of the form, which turns the song around to go back to the beginning again. So we're talking about the last 4 bars. The chart will start with G minor 7 to C to F. But so that's the part where we're talking about the G minor 7. I've said that we're going to simplify that G minor 7 to just 2 bars of C7 instead of G minor 7 then C7. You can think of that as like the 2-5 in F, right? We're going to kind of cut out the 2. It's extra information. We'll put it back in later. So we're going to start there. That's a C shell, C7 shell, root, 7th. Now we're going to play all these chords in here because this is our turnaround. So F7, D7, You could do all sevenths and roots. That's kind of a lot of jumping. So what I want to do is introduce two different ways of playing through this turnaround using shells. So we can, if we do start with the left-hand shell with the root in 7, okay, so now we're going to use the root and third shell for the D7. So we're going to use root and third for that D7. And now we're going to go, the G minor 7 is going to have the root and 7th. And the C7, you with me in bar 12? We're going to have the the new root and third shell. So we're going to have, for the F, D, G, C turnaround, we're going to have root 7th, root and third for the D, root and 7th for the G minor 7, root and third for the C7. So in the song, that's going to sound like this. Not like that. Dun, 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 dun. And I noticed I did the Charleston right there. Dun, 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 dun. You can do that, or you can do it right on the beat. Bum, bum, bum. But you're going to want to have some anticipations in there, because that's kind of what makes it jazzy, right? You can do all anticipations. Dun, 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 dun. Right? So if you can start feeling the upbeats, having the metronome will help with that. Here, 1, 2, 3, 4. Alright, I'm going to play all the way through it, using thirds and shells. I'm going to do this little turnaround there, you can see it. I'm going to do this turnaround too. Okay. So what I did the last time was I added in the turnaround before bar 5, and I added in the turnaround before bar 9. So at the end of every 4-bar section, the turnaround, there's a little bit of it's a turnaround to kind of like set up the next section. So right, there's 3 sections of the blues, the first 4 bars, first 4 bars, middle 4 bars, final 4 bars. So let's talk about each section. The first 4 bars is essentially just a 1 chord. 1. Now we put in a quick 4 there, but it goes right back to the 1, and it still feels like the 1. They call that a quick 4. But essentially, the skeleton of this thing is just a 1 chord for this first 4 bars. But then at the 4th bar, we have this little turnaround to the 4 chord, to B flat 7. And what do we use as a turnaround there? It's kind of, you might expect it, it's a 2-5-1. The 1 being the B flat, so we have to think of what's a 2 in B flat. Well, it's that C minor 7 to F7 to B flat 7. So if we're going to use shells to do that, right, we're going to just do C and then B flat, the root and 7 shell, to the F7 with a root and third shell, that's to the B flat. And you see how that's the top note leads really smoothly, ba, 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 which is why that works so well. And I think it wouldn't work as well if we did this, ba, ba, ba. It's not smooth, so we do this, la, la. So that's our turnaround to the 5th bar, and it looks like this. Right? So once you're able to do the basic form, we're going to start adding in these little turnarounds, and do it as soon as you can, because it's a really important part of the jazz blues are these turnarounds. So let's continue. We only have 1 more turnaround to cover, and then we will have done shells and turnarounds over this F blues. Okay, so the middle four bars, 5 through 9, starting on that B flat. We're just gonna use our shell. Yeah, back to the root. This one, we're turning around to that G minor, right? So we're using a 2-5-1 of G minor. A7, 2, which is the 2. A is the 2 of G, right? And D, which is the 5. So you see we had that nice smooth voicing again with that root and 7 contracting to a root and third, a fourth away, which then expands again to a root and 7, again a fourth away. You know what I mean by a fourth away? Dun, dun. Those are all fourths, right? So we're moving up a fourth from A minor 7 to D7. We're going to move up another fourth again from D to G. So there's our same, it's a really similar motion from the last turnaround we had. Except instead of going to B flat, we're turning around to G7, which then goes to C. And see how it continues down the cycle there? Now G, C, back to F. So there's our second turnaround. So we're going to start on bar 5 with the B flat 7. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. Here's that turnaround. And then our other turnaround. Boom, boom, boom. All together, it sounds like this. Okay. Well, I hope this form of lesson was useful, and I may do other short lessons like this in the future if you found this helpful, where we can have maybe a combination where I record a mini lesson in the week and we have a mini lesson on the weekend. Something like that. I hope it finds you well. I hope you guys have weathered the storm, and let me know that you got this and tell me what you thought of the lesson. All right? I'll talk to you soon.